rival reinsurers such as Hanover Re, all of whom said they continue to expect prices to fall overall. Munich Re's management board is due to meet on Wednesday, tomorrow, to set its regional and client-specific pricing approach. Jaworek said that his company would not be tempted to cut prices. He said, of course, higher capacity is available from Munich Re, but that's strictly linked to prices. He went on to say that the market has changed, will change, and we will be one of the companies that is able to benefit from that, referring to the financial crisis. Another Munich Re board member is also making some statements. This is Wolfgang Strassel. Mr. Strassel said that Munich Re's goals for a higher contribution from its new life reinsurance business in coming years are achievable without acquisitions. But Strassel said, nevertheless, acquisitions are on our radar screen. He reiterated that Munich Re, which is the second largest reinsurer in the world after Swiss Re, continues to seek smaller bolt-on acquisitions to, quote, complement their own capabilities. He said that the reinsurer has no specific targets, but continues to look for opportunities which may arise from the recent financial crisis. Munich Re perceives Asia, in particular Japan, as an area with demand and room for growth at adequate margins, he said. Strassel also said that Munich Re has no plans to enter the business of buying and managing discontinued life insurance portfolios, which, for example, Swiss Re does under its Admin Re brand. Strassel said that Munich Re, quote, thinks the margins in this business are not sufficiently attractive for the risks taken. He said, we are concerned that accepting these risks, sometimes for decades, is not the business we want to be in. Iceland's central bank governor, David Oddsson, said in an announcement yesterday that the Icelandic government had agreed on a €4 billion or $5.5 billion US loan from Russia was overstated, and that talks, in fact, are still continuing. Oddsson said negotiations are in fact beginning. He told this to Bloomberg TV today. He said, we're optimistic they'll be successful, and he said, we are to blame for the overstatement. He said any aid from Russia would be, quote, very much welcomed. The global liquidity squeeze has sent Iceland's currency into a tailspin, this on concern that the rapid expansion of its commercial banks had left the financial system with unsustainable debts. The current account deficit in Iceland, for example, is equal to 34% of the GDP. The country's oversized bank industry means it's, quote, probably in the worst position in the developed world to cope with the ongoing credit crisis. This is according to a Deutsche Bank economist. The bank governor, Oddsson, said that our banks have grown too quickly. Stock market is down about 65 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors during the commercial break.
Global warming. Some say irreversible consequences are 30 years away. 30 years? That won't affect me.
Together, New Yorkers can fight global warming, right now, before it's too late.
From prehistoric time to today, man's progress has been marked by his ability to fashion tools and use them to his advantage. From early humans making tools from stone, man evolved and was soon trading with other men. Money evolved, and tools such as the abacus to handle complex money transactions were developed. By the end of the 19th century, machines, such as the cash register, began to appear. 100 years later, we have even better computer-driven machines which track stock, change prices, and automatically reorder. Meanwhile, the reinsurance industry has failed to embrace man's drive for progress. The reinsurance industry today would be as familiar to practitioners from the 1800s as it is to modern underwriters. An underwriter or broker from 1800 would settle nicely into today's business. That is, until now. For the reinsurance industry, pivot point changes everything. Soon it will be understood that the period before pivot point was as dark as the caveman period was before the abacus. Come and see for yourself if you don't believe. After a demonstration, you will understand what is possible.
Remember last week we gave the news about our friends at Colorado State University, William Gray, talking about 4 major hurricanes still expected this season. Well, we've got a little thing perking around now in Mexico. Tropical storm Marco is closing in on Mexico's coast early today, and it has now threatened to hit with near hurricane strength winds later today. Marco was a small tropical storm with winds extending out to only 15 miles from the center, according to the Hurricane Center in Miami. But hurricane watch nevertheless is in effect for Mexico's Gulf Coast from Cabo Rojo south to Veracruz. Marco had maximum sustained winds near 65 miles per hour. The storm is centered about 100 miles southeast of Tuxpan, Mexico at 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time this morning. It's moving west-northwest at about 8 miles per hour. The Mexican state oil monopoly Petróleos Mexicanos, or Pemex, said that it was evacuating personnel from 33 offshore oil platforms in the Gulf Coast ahead of Marco. Pemex said that it would evacuate workers from the Lancashua, the Bagra B, the Carpet B, and the Bagra C platforms. Monday afternoon, a Pemex spokesman said that production in September and October had fallen due to bad weather in the Gulf of Mexico. About 80% of Mexico's oil production comes from offshore fields in the Gulf. In the Near East, Turkish warplanes today bombed more than 20 Kurdish terrorist targets both inside Turkey and across the border in northern Iraq. The jets struck 21 targets belonging to the Kurdistan Workers' Party in the Aveshan-Basyan region in northern Iraq, as well as the Bazul and Yaka mountains in Turkey's southeast. According to the Turkish military, the planes returned safely to their bases after successfully completing their missions. The raid was the 4th strike against PKK hideouts inside Iraq since the terrorists killed 17 Turkish soldiers in an attack Friday on a military outpost close to the border.